der zentralen Position. Nur Schwanze an der Vorsicht. Dann ist es Fjørtoft. Er ist im Strafraum. Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht. 5:1. Herrlich!
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball Podcast. Another week, another Bundesliga round, another few Champions League games for the Bundesliga teams as well. As always, joined by Father. Where are you in the world right now?
I am in Germany, which is good for the German Fußball Podcast. I did Sky yesterday. We were discussing the two games and a spectacular game at Anfield where you saw Liverpool being 2-0 up, 5-2. They're ending up losing, but much more exciting for us and for me was the Frankfurt game. A game that, I mean, I tried to be very optimistic, but I knew that they were playing maybe the best team in the world at the moment. And I'm saying that based on the way they're playing, based on the players they have going forward, Osimhen, Kvaradona, which they call the
Yes.
player from Georgia, Napoli, a very, very good team. But so they were dominant, but Eintracht had some counter chances, but 1-0 penalty, unnecessary, was right. And then of all things that should happen, everything went wrong for Eintracht Frankfurt when Muani was, not only did he get a red card, which was harsh in the time. I think that the referee decided straight away that he did it on purpose, which I don't think he did. But okay, if that's the rule, that is the rule. Then Muani will miss the game in Napoli. And then you just think that they have to survive the 10-15 minutes after that red card. And then Napoli made that 2-0. And it's, of course, going to be very, very difficult for them. But Marcus, just short, I want to know about your week, because some debuts about radio and all that. Tell me, or tell us.
Yes. Well, I would want to comment on the Eintracht game briefly, but before that, I guess we can give a little summary. Well, yes, I made my debut on radio, commentating a club, a place that means a lot for us, Dad, in the form of Swindon. So it's great to reconnect with that club and with the fans and where you are very much held in high regard. So I got to commentate that. Unfortunately, loss for them on the night, and then I was able to go up to Scotland and revisit old friends, old trenches, and be in front of the screen actually as a pundit for Greenock Morton against Dundee. So with that, Morton went right up into the playoff spaces alongside my former club Ayr, which I was also able to see, and then got to join on a radio show as well, where we asked, what does Norway mean to you? And as a Norwegian, that is a somewhat of an existential question. What does it mean? I guess I texted you. I said, what would it mean to you? And I came up with a few different categories. It means fjords and Holland and beautiful girls and Taco Fridays and everything. So I got to discuss the entire range then. But a very fun weekend, and we'll see. But we're back here with the podcast as well. And I want to.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the role of being
of course,
co-commentator on radio, for example?
Of course, and I have. I mean, you are you are a worthy reference to have as well. But it's it's fun. It's fun to sit down and actually analyze properly games as well. You know, we are able to discuss the general trends, the general happenings of the round, to look through a game and really sift through the whys and the whats and the hows. I find interesting. So a vintage defensive performance from Morton there, which as a centre back I love to see.
And you saw Swindon, of course, losing. Now they got back with a win in the week, which was good for them. And it was funny to see that you were doing a lot of the stuff that I'd done. And I always say that sometimes you've been in UK for like 2 minutes, and then you are able to kind of also into your job at PFA meet the legends, which you do report on Twitter. So, but I of course know about that. But then you meet.
It's funny though to meet
my generations of footballers.
Exactly. Meet your generation of football, because I remember you also saying the type of players you played against. You know, a former PFA winner is Paul McGrath, who we would look at. I remember you saying how tough he was to play against. Then we go and interview these other winners, and they say exactly the same thing, and despite his injuries. And then you have a Gary Pallister, and then
you met Pally, didn't you? Was it yesterday? Yesterday, Monday.
Monday, yes, in Middlesbrough, where also you obviously you've played and we've lived. So a trek down memory lane, really, this past weekend, which is nice, and we love the UK, Dad, don't we?
Yeah, we love, and we love Frankfurt. You wanted to just add some comments on that?
Let's go into the theme of the podcast. What I was just going to say on Frankfurt was that I saw the game, and then they had a penalty, a clumsy penalty that Eintracht conceded, rightfully so. It was a penalty. Then you have Kevin Trapp, who's made for European nights, it seems, at this point, who kept them in it. Eintracht started really strongly. They were sharp. They had a chance through Kolomani that went past the post there. Not the biggest, but a chance nonetheless. They started sharp, but then you saw that Napoli really growing into the game. You could see the team that everyone's been raving about the entire season. And so with that, I was a bit worried there when it came to 1-0. And then you saw that they got a disallowed goal straight off from kickoff because Eintracht were a bit clumsy in the back.
What was that? Playing from the back. I've said it again. I was working yesterday for Sky, and I was sitting there, and they just looked at me, because if you saw at Anfield as well, goal Liverpool, Courtois he forgot that he was a keeper. And I was sitting with Roman Weidenfeller, the former Dortmund keeper legend, and he tried to say, yeah, they call them goalkeeper players now. I said, what is that all about?
Sweepers, basically.
Yeah, because that is a Neuer, Ter Stegen, especially here in Germany. I mean, fantastic players with their feet. But Courtois, he looked so clumsy when on that back pass. And then you thought, hey, Alisson Becker, maybe you learned something from that. Don't do that. Just kick the ball away. No. Try to play out from the back. That is another story. But yeah, Frankfurt was well, I mean, Frankfurt been doing so well, and I was a bit optimistic based on the experience they have in Europe, winning the Europa League, went to the semi-final back in 2019 when they were knocked out by Chelsea. But they're still running good in the league, Marcus, and there was a convincing win, or they were winning. And if you have a look at the table now, not only is there a very tight race at the top at the moment, there are three teams: Bayern, Dortmund, and Freiburg. Yeah, very much so. And this weekend on Sunday is going to be Bayern against Union, which will be a great game. It will be Leipzig playing against Frankfurt, Dortmund going to Hoffenheim, who are struggling at the moment. But still, it's very tight. But it's also tight when we end our. We always like to talk about Frankfurt, but Frankfurt now, if you have a look at the table now, they are on that 6th position. So there's a big space down to the 7th, which means that the 6 kind of fixed European places looks good now for Frankfurt.
Absolutely. And we've seen Eintracht, they beat West Ham away. They beat Barcelona away last year in the Europa League. Nothing is impossible with Eintracht, Dad.
I just want to finish on that a bit news, because Markus Krösche, the head of sport at Eintracht Frankfurt, has been linked to Liverpool. It was Athletic who first reported it, and it was followed up by some credible journalist. Obviously, is a man that I rate highly. He's a man that I love talking football to. I was in Frankfurt 10 days ago. It was. We had another football chat again. If Liverpool should end up getting Markus Krösche, they won't do anything wrong. But I do, of course, hope that he will stay in Frankfurt, because I think the key to Frankfurt progress is that they have Champions League level in every department of the club, which I mean is the key to any club. You see that with other clubs who can invest a lot, great players, or maybe not the best coach, or opposite, you have a great coach and you don't have the right investment of the team. But Frankfurt has found that balance.
Yeah, just a quick one in case we have also, I expect we have Liverpool fans or Premier League interest. What could Liverpool expect from a Markus Krösche if he were to join? Now it's obviously speculative, but even still, let's play around with it.
Markus Krösche is one of the few head of sports that I know that have the background and the mixtures and the knowledge from all departments that demand the role of head of recruitment, strategy in sport and so on. He played for Paderborn, or he's played for different clubs, but he's played football. He got a football background. He played there. He's been in different coaching capacities. He also has the business background. He took some time out being a businessman, working the entrepreneur business. That is into his blood. And now he got a Red Bull connection. He was at RB Leipzig. He was doing his trade, or some sort of his trade there. Then he went to Eintracht Frankfurt, where he has built on what Bobic, because we have to give credit also to Bobic, what he did at Eintracht Frankfurt. But he is a head of sport that understands all aspects of the game. He is a guy who can not only see what he sees in front of him, he tried to put it in perspective in a wider picture. So I will say he's one of the greatest in that role in the whole Bundesliga. Very well respected, very well connected, and someone that, well, everybody I speak to who work with him rate him for his knowledge and his ability to think long term, but understand that it's all about short term as well in our business.
Of course. And talking about big guns in former Liverpool, who got a bit of a humbling yesterday against the Champions League. Champions, like the ultimate Champions League champions, Real Madrid. Talking about the big teams, being Frankfurt included as well. Bayern's kryptonite, Gladbach. Now there is a note. Let me get this right. Phrase this right. Gladbach have won more games against Bayern, double the amount of games against Bayern than any other opponent have done against Bayern. The last 5 games they are unbeaten against Bayern, and Gladbach, being very unpredictable this season, are predictable in their performance against Bayern, being incredibly impressive, strong. But we cannot mention that result and an impressive performance by Gladbach, a Hoffmann who's firing on all cylinders this season as well, without discussing the red card briefly. And we have Muani's, and whether that was a red card or not in terms of from a pure intentional standpoint. How do you see the Upamecano incident, Dad?
Well, first of all, always when we talk about the podcast, there is an update on Bayern. The update on Bayern being that they were very, very strong against PSG. They had a great performance in Paris from minute one. They were on it. They were pressuring. They were doing everything. But as you were saying, the key moment of the game in Gladbach was after 8 minutes, Upamecano touched the attacker player. The attacker went down. I mean, there has been a lot of discussion about that. People say that is not the red card. I guess I'm a bit by the striker union, because I will always think that if you go one against the goalkeeper, why should you go down? It's the same with the Erling Haaland against Nottingham Forest. It was a similar situation. Why should he go down when you are 16 meters away from scoring a goal? So I don't think it's a matter of how much Upamecano touched the player, because if you running forward, if you're running with your strength, you kind of jump running onto the goalkeeper. You don't need a lot of touch to be off balance and go down. So I doubtfully will end up on the verdict that there was a red card. Mm-hmm. What followed was, of course, everything was based on that red card. Point number 1, Julian Nagelsmann, as a lot of coaches doing, they have to take off one man. You know the rule. You have a red card. You have to take out an attacker. Of all players that he will take off, he takes off Thomas Müller. I can't. I'm not sure what the metaphor I'm gonna use for that. But they always, and I see, as I'm sitting here now, I have all the magazine, all the papers around me, as I always do when I'm in Germany. And they always have this quote from Louis van Gaal when he was a coach here: Bayern should always play with Müller. He always said that Müller should be in the team. So he decided to take him off, which is maybe the right decision. Of course, Julian Nagelsmann found that was the right decision to do, but it's still a bit strange, Marcus, because when you know all the intrigues that is at this club at the moment, with Manuel Neuer and then Thomas Müller being also one of the old pros in and around, that was interesting. But talking about interesting, then they lost 3-2. They were 3-1 up Gladbach. They scored in the 84th minute. They scored the 3-1, and then Tell, the very promising young lad, came on in the injury time and made it 3-2. But after the game, the real fun start, because then Julian Nagelsmann, the kind of the kid, Billy the Kid, the young lad of football, he kind of lost it. And he went into them. We after the game, you have a mix zone where all the press is waiting for the interviews to come. And then he comes in and he's having a roast of the referee on his way to the referee's dressing room. So then after the game, the referee tells the press that the conversation he had and Nagelsmann had was quite sensible. They exchanged views. They agreed to disagree. But then fast backwards again, when then Julian Nagelsmann comes out of the dressing room, or the referee's dressing room, he kind of acted as game. So he's roasting again, and he says, "There is no way I can talk to this pack." I guess that is the same word in English, isn't it? In German and English is the same. This pack, it's a kind of bullying thing to say about someone, and of course this has made a lot of waves, especially here in Germany, because they then start asking, is he a, well, obviously they will ask, is this kid, and I'm overdoing it now in a tabloid way, is this kid kind of mature enough to be the coach of Bayern Munich? And I think that is silly, because Julian Nagelsmann got the knowledge, and he just some days ago they beat PSG and it was brilliant. But so I think it's an easy shot, but it's still a shot that Julian Nagelsmann must expect to get. Mm-hmm. And so now there's all these stories about this and that, and Neuer and Müller and Julian Nagelsmann, and the fans don't like him 100% because he come forward arrogant and things like that. So I would say that they got a red card, but after the game, Bayern also, through Julian Nagelsmann, made an own goal. And of course, it's based on the situation on the table, the Bundesliga table now, of course. But Julian Nagelsmann is under fire. Let's put it that way.
A coach that seems to have everything under control, that is Edin Terzic.
Wow.
Dortmund have won all the games this year. They won against Chelsea. So hopefully, big bottle you have there, by the way.
It's water.
I was staying hydrated today.
My mom, your mom, my wife have told me, drink a lot of water.
Hey, I believe you after seeing that. I'll let them know.
I just realized that it's not many podcasts we're seeing that people are drinking. So I think that we got to be different. Yeah. Yes, but back to Edin Terzic, Marcus. What would you say about him?
No, I was just going to have your opinion. What do the German press say about him? What's the general vibe around that camp, assuming everything's fine and dandy? But they look a stronger title candidate than any other year. And in terms of how they started this season, I mentioned last week was, you know, it's a start similar to the title winning season in 2011, 2012. Now they got Marco Reus back. I mean, where does it end? We want to see a contentious title battle. Are Dortmund the ones to finally topple it?
3 teams on the same points, 43. It's only the goal difference who makes Bayern be in the lead of the table. As you're saying, Dortmund have won every game, including Champions League, Cup, and the league games since they started. Edin Terzic, now, of course, being the perfect Dortmund manager, he's been there. I've seen the photos of him being in the stand as a Dortmund fan back in the days when Klopp winning the cup for them. I think the key to Dortmund is a lot of things. First of all, they sorted out the defensively problems. With Schlotterbeck and Süle, the 2 new players, they have found a way, and Kobel, the goalkeeper, is playing brilliantly. So they look good at the back. And then you have Bellingham. Bellingham in the midfield he's the leader out there. Sometimes Jude is overdoing it because he is a leader. He takes on the whole world. You just feel that when he's finished with winning a game for Dortmund, he will take on any war. He will find a cure for cancer. He will do everything for you. He is that kind of guy, and that's why we love him. And I love that him as a person, as a player. Then you have players who you thought were gone that is taking the next step. Julian Brandt. Julian Brandt is on fire again.
Incredible.
Also, yeah, Julian Brandt is a great player. It's been a bit that softish kind of player, doesn't take his space on the pitch the last years, but he's a brilliant footballer. I know I see that Dortmund want to extend his contract. That is new. And then they have, unbelievably enough, found a place for Can. Can is now a number 6, and Can is a loyal worker. You know, when he's at his best, he's working hard. He's a good guy. He is a leader. He is then again a bit too late in the tackles and all that kind of stuff. But the mixture there's been brilliantly. But I think the key to it is that you have so many potential match winners. Even Malen scored this weekend. Malen, who they came in and he played next to Erling Haaland, and he was not doing that well. He was scoring goal. Adeyemi has been on. I won't use the phrase on fire again, but he's been on fire. Unfortunately, he made a goal and then he made an assist. But as he was doing his assist, he did his muscle, so he'll be out for 3 weeks. That was a bit bad setup for him. You have Sebastian Aller, who has scored his first goal after he came back for his cancer treatment. You have Marco Reus. He's lost. He's been away, but now he's back again. He's the club captain, is there. So they have so many potential match winners in that team that Dortmund could go all the way. But as you know, Marcus, I'm doing a bit for ESPN, and they always start asking me, do we have an excitement in the German Bundesliga again? And then Steve Nicol would say, because nobody thinks that. But now you got a feeling now, Marcus, because also RB Leipzig is not far behind, 3-4 points behind. So you just have that feeling now. The other years you had to have that the challenger couldn't lose games, but now you have three teams. I mean, if I put Frankfurt in as well, but you have at least, I mean, with Dortmund and Leipzig, you have so a good squad that you just feel that they can make Bayern insecure. I think the title is still for Bayern to lose. But I mean, the lovers of German football, we hope that as neutral, that there will be another champion at Bayern. We have to be that honest.
Freiburg completing the top 6 there after their win against Bochum. As we get to the end, Dad, let's talk a bit about RB Leipzig. They go, as we are speaking now, will go up against Manchester City tonight. A convincing 3-0 win against Wolfsburg. Emil Forsberg getting goal. Nkunku is back. Without making this podcast too time irrelevant, so to speak, as people might listen to this tomorrow, but in general, could we expect, obviously you mentioned them fighting for the Bundesliga title, what can we expect from them against the Manchester City?
Yeah, I don't like to talk about games that when people listen to this, but so I'll be more general than that. Better. But because it's hopeless to make podcasts at the moment, because if you do them after the Champions League, you have another league round started. So we are ending up doing on a Wednesday, and this time we got Frankfurt in. But as we're speaking, I'm doing that game tonight. I'm looking forward to that. I think that will be showing the direction that both clubs are going, because if RB Leipzig take out the win there, Manchester City in the race, they go to Bournemouth on Saturday. Marcus, we're going together to that game. But I will say in general, RB Leipzig is a bit like Dortmund. They got a lot of players who can score goals. You said Nkunku coming back, Timo Werner, Emil Forsberg. You have Paulsen, Szoboszlai. Yeah, there's so many players who can score goals. They are good organized at the back. They have a manager that I rate highly. I always do that with Marco Reus. After his getting fired at Dortmund, which I thought at the time was very unfair. So they could be up there, and it was a convincing win against Wolfsburg, who have lost a bit steam. They were winning 4 or 5 games in a row, and Niko Kovac now they've been struggling a bit. So I expect RB Leipzig to be up there and chasing Bayern. I think that RB Leipzig will be happy if they will be top 4. but still that when you see the whole season, but they're up there, and they have the chance to be one of the main, or they are one of the main challengers. But with the quality there, both Dortmund and Leipzig, they don't need to hide themselves when you compare player to player with Bayern, and I think that is a good basic for their challenge. Although Bayern got the upper head because they have the culture of winning championship, which they've done for years. So both Dortmund and Leipzig got to take the next step.
Union playing against Schalke, 0-0 there. Schalke's fourth consecutive draw. We touched upon that. It's in any case to get back to winning ways is to have a solid defensive unit, but not awfully dangerous going forward. We'll desperately need some wins as we get to the tail end of the season. We also had Stuttgart beat Köln, which was vital for them in the relegation battle, took them out of the mix of the
good win that
Big win.
Cologne flying after beating Frankfurt, and Stuttgart with Bruno Labbadia. I just read an article about Philipp Lahm, and Kendira is a consulting kind of position there. So that was a big win for them down at the bottom. And my friend Alex Rosen is struggling. They were losing against Augsburg on Friday. So we're looking forward to another round. It's excitement in German football, and Bayern Union with Nagelsmann against Fischer, the Swiss Fischer. And I will end this podcast, Marcus, with a little funny story, not long at all. There was a big article in, I think, one of the magazines. And they kind of compared their coaches. There was in the papers. They were comparing Nagelsmann, Rose, Terzic, and Fischer. Urs Fischer, who is the coach of the Swiss team. And then they said he likes this. He got 2 kids. He likes, and everything like fun fact about him. And then they said at the end of the article said he was a Kettenraucher. That means a chain smoker. So he smokes a lot. So today in the papers, this is the only place where I when I'm abroad, I get my papers in. And then there was a dementi. What's that in English? It's like an article showing that was something wrong. And I said, Union Berlin will state that Urs Fischer is not a Kettenraucher. He's not a chain smoker. Yes, he loves his cigarettes, but he doesn't smoke as much as Bild Zeitung said he was doing. And typical Germany then, the last paragraph was then doing the measures for when are you a Kettenraucher? Well, if you do 35 cigarettes. So there's all small details, and that is funny. Then you know that you're up for it when it's all about how much you smoke. Then you know that you are a man in a wanting in the German press, going to the big public eye and going for the big game against Bayern on Sunday.
Amazing. And what a matchup that will be. We will be there next week to review it. Dad, enjoy Germany. What have you got up the rest of the week?
I'm going to later today. I'm going to Austria. I'm doing Leipzig against Manchester City. Then I'm going on Thursday. I am doing Manchester United, Barcelona. That's the Europa League. On Saturday, I'm going with you as my driver. I am doing Bournemouth against Manchester City. And on Sunday, I am doing the League Cup final, Manchester United against Newcastle United at Wembley Stadium. And then on Monday, I'm going to be a part of a show in Salzburg celebrating my first coach abroad, Hansi Krankel, who was 70 years of age. I so look forward to that. He was so important for my career, getting one of the best goal getter of his generation as my coach. That was an enormous influence on me. I love the man, and I still a lot of touch with him. So, of course, I said yes today, although my logistic this week is quite intense.
things you do for the people you care about, and you
Yeah, exactly.
find time for this also next week somehow. Dad, thanks a lot.
Son, auf Wiedersehen.